Good morning, everybody. I am Dave Brown. I am a coach with High Trust Coaching, and we are going to be chatting today about some ideas that hopefully will help you in your mortgage and or real estate practice. And we, of course, are all led by the infamous Todd Duncan, who all of our content and our material and our coaching protocols come from. So today we are going to be talking about the 5 irrefutable principles of high performance mortgage and real estate practitioners in 2021. And this is, again, right out of Todd's playbook. And it actually is a playbook that Todd has provided for coaching members of High Trust. And by the way, if you are interested in getting more information about coaching, go to hightrust.com and you can find out more info there, as well as signing up for a free coaching session. So anyways, so this idea of the 5 irrefutable principles Todd shared started when he was newer in the business as a loan originator in his younger 20s. And he sat down with his mentor, and his mentor said, basically, do you know what the secret of success is? And, Todd, being young and naive, said, well, what? And he said, it's principles. It's founding your business based on principles. So we want to talk about very briefly, a big overview kind of swing at this, the 5 irrefutable principles that Todd has laid out for what the successful people in real estate and mortgage lending are doing, have done, and will be continuing to do to see their businesses thrive and grow. So just a quick example about what, some of Todd's teaching has meant to folks. Oh, gosh, sorry about that. The business keeps going. Anyways, so one of our coaching members that started integrating these principles at the end of 2018, he had earned $188,000. It's not bad. That's a pretty good year by all accounts. He started deploying these principles and going to Todd's events and following Todd's teachings and trainings. And at the end of 2019, he had gone to $406,000. So that was more than a double. That's really good income. Puts him in probably the top 1 or 2% in the country, I would imagine. And then last year, he made over $1 million. And I'll tell you, that's one of the things that we really try to get folks to understand in coaching is that, you really need to take the lid off. There aren't any limits other than the limits that you place. And we have a lot of people in Todd's ecosystem that are in that 7-digit income earning category. So let's talk about principle number 1. Principle number 1 is everything can be improved. So and with that, things that get measured get improved. And so one of the things we do in coaching is we establish some metrics for folks. Metrics that Todd has determined are kind of the key action items that high producing loan officers do on a regular basis. And we measure those on a daily basis. And then we look for opportunities with our members where we can help them improve, change, grow, because the bottom line is what gets measured gets improved. And our goal in coaching is to help our members make more money in less time, thereby increasing their dollar per hour of what they're earning. So within that first principle, there's a teaching point that Todd talks about. And this is, although incredibly simplistic, it's incredibly profound. And it says, if you want to make more money, you need to spend more time on those action items that make you money. Sounds incredibly simple, doesn't it? But what we find with a lot of loan officers is that they end up spending far too much time doing things that aren't producing them revenue, but are necessary to keep their business going. And let me explain on that a little bit. And I think a great analogy is, Todd shared a story about his dad, and his dad was a radiologist. And Todd went to work with him one day, and he said, Dad, why don't you take the X-rays? Why does somebody else take the X-rays? And his dad said, because I get paid to read the X-rays. And basically what he was saying is that there are others that can do the X-ray, but there aren't others that can read the X-ray properly the way that I can read it. And so if we translate that into the loan origination business, there's 3 areas or 3 places where Todd says a high producing loan officer should, or any loan officer should be spending their time. And if they're spending their time doing other things other than that, then that's when we need to start getting into the discussion about getting an assistant, building a team, and so forth. So those 3 areas that a loan officer should be spending their time, number 1 would be meeting with clients, having what we call borrower consultations, where you're doing pre-purchase consultations, doing refinance, total cost analysis for people, and so forth. So number 1, meeting with borrowers. Number 2 would be meeting with realtor or referral partners, CPAs, financial planners. It could be a new meeting with a new client that you want to start working with. It could be a partnership planning session where you're talking about what your respective business plans are, how those integrate together, and how you can help each other do more business in the coming year. So number 2 is meeting with partners. And number 3 is making sure that you are providing operational excellence. And what that means is that your systems are streamlined, that when a loan goes into the system, it's quickly approved. The borrower ultimately has what we call a 5-star experience, so that when all is said and done, you're getting awesome reviews, you're getting tremendous amounts of referrals because your borrowers know, love, and trust you, and you and your team did a great job for them in getting their loan completed. So again, the 3 areas you want to spend your time would be with borrowers, with partners, and fine-tuning your system and making sure that it's running like a well-oiled machine, okay? If you're spending a lot of time chasing conditions, if you're spending a lot of time doing other administrative tasks, then you need to kind of rethink the way your business is set up. And perhaps you either need more help in your team in terms of a loan officer assistant or other people on your team, or maybe you don't have the right people on your team. So that's kind of a little bit of a different discussion. But along those whole lines is what one of the key metrics, probably the most important metric we measure ultimately with our members, is the dollar per hour. And again, our whole goal is to help our members make more dollars per hour. And we've had just many, many, many cases of people that when they came to us, they're making $50 an hour, which is roughly $100,000. And at the end of their first year of coaching, they're making $300-$400 an hour. So what we're talking about absolutely works. This is not theory. This is reality. So and it requires a little bit of a mind shift in our thinking. I mean, why take 40 years to do what you can do in 10? Why have 10 clients giving you 1 deal each when you can have 1 client giving you 10 deals? So that kind of thinking, that kind of mindset is where we try to help people shift things and change a little bit so that they are making more dollars per hour. Teaching point number 2 on the first principle of everything can be improved is there's no limit how much you can make per hour. I mean, Todd has people in his very upper echelon of coaching. They're called elite, that are all well above 7 digits, some in the $3, $4, $5 million a year and even beyond. So the amount of money that somebody could make as a loan originator in today's world is pretty amazing. But you got to have the strategies, you got to have the tools, you got to have the systems in place, and that's what we help people with in coaching. So no limits. That's fun stuff. And again, that comes with the idea of kind of resetting your whole mindset of thinking just a whole heck of a lot bigger. So and again, that idea of trying to not be doing things that somebody else can be doing, because if you're chasing conditions, as an example, then you've just relegated yourself to effectively a loan officer assistant. What does a loan officer assistant make? $25 an hour, maybe. So as opposed to a good loan officer making $500 an hour, you want to spend your time on those $500 an hour activities, and that's the borrowers, the partners, and making sure your system is extremely efficient. So principle number 2 is success can only be built on failure, and that's a real huge mind shift for a lot of folks, in that they see failure as failure, where winners see failure as just an opportunity where I'm closer to where I want to be. Thomas Edison, when asked how many opportunities it took him to find the light bulb, he said it was something like 1,000 different experiments before he finally found the right combination for the light bulb. And they go, wow, that was a lot of failures. He goes, no, I successfully found 999 ways not to do a light bulb. Michael Jordan missed more game-winning shots than he made. Wayne Gretzky, when asked what his secret to success was, he says, I don't know exactly, but what I do know is that I miss 1,000% of the shots that I never take. So what winners all recognize is that failure is part of the process. Failure's okay. And as soon as you realize that, failure just becomes a stepping stone as you're moving forward in success. So don't be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone. It's part of the program, and it helps us get all to where we want to be. And the reality is, without failure, there can't be success. So there's got to be that yin and that yang going on there. So failure's okay. Henry Ford said, failure is just a resting place. It's an opportunity to begin again more intelligently. And, with respect to failure, one of what we teach from in High Trust Coaching is based on Todd's book, High Trust Selling. If you haven't picked it up, you should pick it up. Great read. And there's 14 laws of high trust selling that Todd talks about. And one of them is the law of the dress rehearsal, which basically says the greater the performance, the louder the applause. And what that means is that you need to practice to mitigate or minimize that failure so that our chances of success are a lot greater. And that's one of the things we help folks in coaching as well, is we may be looking at somebody that's getting a lot of leads. They're doing a lot of right things, and the phone's ringing, and they're getting people calling them, but their conversion rate isn't very good for some reason. So one of the reasons may be poor follow-up. One of the reasons may be what they're saying to clients. And so we can work on scripting and helping them say things differently, because the reality is that scripts work. And that's probably one of the most important tactics that we can help a member with in coaching, is help them build scripts that work. And it's funny, scripts initially could be a little bit uncomfortable, because we're using different words that maybe we're not used to. But once they've been practiced and utilized, then they become second nature. They become comfortable, and those just become part of your normal vocabulary and the way you do business. With respect to practice, Todd had the opportunity to meet Joe Montana at one point, and he happened to ask Joe, Joe, how much do you practice, for each game? And what does a football game last? Maybe, actual playing time, not the timeouts, not the in between the plays and all that. It's probably it's an hour, right? It's 4 15-minute quarters. So 1 hour of work. And Joe kind of thought about it a minute. He said about 50 hours a week is practice between on the field, meetings, watching film. So for Joe Montana, who won 4 Super Bowls, it was a 50-to-1 ratio between practice and play. So are you practicing for your craft, for your mortgage business, for your real estate business? So you should be if you're not. And I will tell you that scripts work, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Let's see. Principle number 3: emotional connection deepens trust and expedites conversion. And that's I'll tell you, that's something Todd has really zeroed in on with those of us in coaching and those of us that have attended his events, is that we really need to learn to turn down the promotion, the hype, in some cases the marketing, and turn up the emotion of connecting with people and getting them to trust us. Hence, high trust selling. Because once somebody trusts you, rate doesn't matter, everything else doesn't matter. They're going to do business with you. And we show people through a process called the high trust interview how to get our partners to trust us, how to get our borrowers to trust us. And really what we're doing as part of that process is we are asking questions that others aren't asking to discover problems others don't know even ever existed, so we could present solutions that nobody else has ever talked to them about. And it's based on really, really good listening and just asking a couple of really, really good, deep thinking questions. I'll tell you a quick story that one of our other coaches shared at Mastery of 2019 with one of his members, that he convinced him to do a high trust interview with an existing partner, one of his partners that he'd been doing business with for a long time. And but his loan officer member said, I really don't even like this lady, but she does decent business, so I kind of put up with her. And so our coach encouraged him to go have a high trust interview with her. And when they sat down and he asked one of the magic questions that we teach, which basically was, what was important to her in her life, not just her business, but her life, and what was important about success to her. And she wrote down 800,000 and slid it across the table to him. And he said, well, what does that mean? And he said, she said, well, my mom lives with me, and in order to help her and to reach my goals, I need to make $800,000 a year. And he said it was like everything changed at that moment, because I never knew that about her. And this amazing rapport and conversation followed, and we started brainstorming on ideas to help each other do more business. He says, now she's my favorite person in the world. When I see her, we high five. I call her Miss 800 or something like that. And it was all because of one question that he asked that just opened the door of, really getting to know her and emotionally connecting with her. According to a lot of surveys, including Gallup, emotional connection is now the #1 driver of consumer experiences, outpacing ease and effectiveness. So it is very important that we connect emotionally with our clients. I'll give you an example of one of those scripts just to kind of give you a little flavor here. And this is, again, right from Todd's playbook. And this is just one of many, but it gives you an idea of how you can frame things differently and get people thinking differently. And it says, so imagine saying this: we design beautifully architect home loan experiences that give you the safest and most secure mortgage, reducing your risk while giving you peace of mind as you make memories in your new home. Wow, that's certainly different. It's cool. It's going to feel clunky working with scripts in the beginning, but they work. The other tenet under making an emotional connection is chemistry, and you really need to have chemistry with your borrowers, and really especially your partners. And ultimately, if you don't have chemistry, it's just not going to work. And it's even okay if there's not chemistry there, if you're not like-minded, if you're not equally yoked. It's okay with a partner to fire them, or just stop doing business with them, because there's too many people out there, trust me on this, that will do business the right way, your way, than people that you have to deal with, that it's kicking and scratching and gnashing of teeth all the way to the finish line. So don't worry about that. The third tenet under emotional connection is conflict resolution. I think that's pretty straightforward. You got to make sure you can resolve conflicts with people, and the way you do that is over time you're depositing into their emotional bank, their love tank, whatever you want to call it, so that the idea is that when you need to make a withdrawal, you've put enough in there that taking a little bit out isn't going to be a problem. For instance, if I'll give you a great example. I'm working on a deal right now, a very, very difficult deal with a very sophisticated client financially, with one of my number one realtor partners. And this client's been challenged to get us documentation, and the realtor knows that, and it's a big deal, a $5 million purchase. But because I've done so much depositing over the years with this realtor partner in closing transactions timely, seamlessly, helping her do more business and so forth, it's fine. I mean, she's concerned about the transaction, but our relationship is solid. And so, that's what happens with, kind of conflict resolution when you've put a lot into that tank of that other person. And this really goes for relationships outside of the scope of business, with your kids, with your spouse, with your friends. Think about making emotional deposits into them so that when and if the time is necessary that you need to take a little bit back out to resolve a conflict, or you need something, then you've made that investment where you're able to do it. So principle number 4 of the 5 irrefutable principles is competence leads to confidence, and confidence leads to consistency. So, people, one of the reasons people have call reluctance, because they don't know what to say. That's something we can help with in coaching. But most people fear things that they think they are not good at. And so once we show people competence, we can help them build confidence, and then confidence breeds success, right? And Todd shared a little kind of poem almost that he talked to his son about, who was trying to learn to play the guitar, but was a little adverse to practice and getting to that confidence level. So he was a little bit lacking confidence. And so listen to this. I thought this was terrific. If you practice, you get better. If you get better, you play with better players. If you play with better players, you play better music. If you play better music, you have more fun. If you have more fun, you want to practice more. If you practice more, you get better. And it's the same in the mortgage business. If you practice more, you get better. You're going to attract better clients. Better clients are going to attract better referrals. Better referrals are going to want you to practice more, and so on. And it just becomes this snowball that is building, going downhill, where your business is just growing and going and doing it on its own. So that competence and confidence is super important. Sorry about that. My phone is tied to my computer. One of the things Todd talks about too is the idea of compounding. And we talk about that in coaching, and the idea of compounding is, little teeny tiny incremental changes each day over time make a huge difference. And it's the idea of, if somebody wanted to lose 50 pounds and they broke it down even into daily where they need to lose, 4 ounces a day. That certainly sounds a lot more achievable than maybe 50 pounds. So that idea of the compounding effect is very important. And if you haven't read it, there's a terrific book out there called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy that he talks about those and talks about the idea of building solid habits, that you just do little things each and every day, and those turn into something huge over time. And that goes with teaching point number one. Success doesn't happen in a day; it happens daily. And it's kind of like that. The weight loss is an easy analogy. Somebody who's overweight didn't get overweight in a day. They're not going to lose the weight in a day. It's a process. It takes time. So, it's about building those habits that allow for that success. The last principle is accountability is more important than action, and nothing happens without action. And I will say probably one of the best things that happens with coaching is accountability. And I think that's just because of human nature. And a winner doesn't want to show up to a meeting after having agreed to do something and not having done it. So one of the things we do in coaching is we will set goals after each call of 1 or 2 or 3 action items to be completed by the next call. And it could be reaching out to 2 new realtor partners. It could be some database management techniques that we're getting them to deploy. So we'll then bring that up the next week. We're never going to beat up anybody, but accountability works. And think about it like this. If you go to the gym and you're doing some push-ups, if you're doing them by yourself or you have somebody there, a trainer, who's maybe giving you a little nudge, a little push, which are you going to likely do more push-ups? Kind of a no-brainer there, huh? And that's one of the reasons that, professionals, professional entertainers, professional athletes, professional business people hire coaches, is to get them to push themselves a little bit farther than they would normally go themselves. And that's where the accountability comes in. It's one of the reasons we have the metrics that we measure 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. So it's very helpful in developing those habits that are going to create success. And there's four levels of accountability that Todd talks about. It's personal accountability, and that's kind of to yourself. And what we talk about with respect to personal accountability is the way we are accountable. We're going to be accountable if we're really clear on our why, and our why is our dream. Why are we doing all this? And one of the exercises we take people through, Todd talks about it in High Trust Sales Academy. It's really the first law he talks about, with the law of the iceberg, and that is, what's your why? What's your dream? And we even talk to people about having a dream board. I have a dream board. You could see some golf pictures behind me. So the reason we do that is we want people to be really clear on what's important to you. Because when you have that moment when you don't feel like making that phone call, when you don't feel like meeting with that client or that partner, you remember why you're doing it. And maybe it's your kids, maybe it's a charity, maybe you want to have a bigger house for your family, maybe you want to create financial security for your long-term future. Maybe it's all of those things. You need to have those in pictures that you can look at on a regular basis. I mean, I have a dream board at home. I have a picture of it on my phone, and I do look at it frequently. And it does make a difference, and it does matter when you know why you're doing what you're doing. So that's Personal accountability, partner accountability. We talk about having somebody that, whether it's a coach, professional coach, whether it's a friend, whether it's a spouse, somebody that you can hold them accountable, they can hold you accountable, because it does make a huge difference when you have that accountability partner. Professional accountability, we just talked about that with a coach. That's, of course, what we would highly recommend, because we will definitely hold people accountable, and this is what we do is help people grow their businesses. And then the last is prayerful or meditative accountability, and this is about having some quiet time on a daily basis, meditating, and so forth. So let's just have a quick review, and then we'll wrap it up. Principle number 1, everything can be improved. Principle number 2, success can only be built on failure. Principle number 3, emotional connection deepens trust. Principle number 4, competence leads to confidence. Confidence leads to consistency. And principle number 5, accountability is more important than action, and nothing happens without action. So I don't know if there are any questions or comments. It doesn't look like it at this point. So I think we'll call that a wrap. Hope that was helpful. Hope you got at least one nugget out of there. And again, if you're interested in a free coaching session, go to hightrust.com and sign up for a free session and get more information there. Have a wonderful week.